From Coca-Cola Bowl Season Radio, this is the East-West Shrine Bowl Countdown on Sirius XM at the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Frisco, Texas, and the All-Star Players Hotel. Here is your host, Kyle Youmans.
The 2026 East-West Shrine Bowl Countdown with Coca-Cola Bowl Season Radio right here as a part of Sirius XM College Sports Radio. We are here from Frisco, Texas, site of the 101st Annual East-West Shrine Bowl, which takes place on Tuesday alongside Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus. I'm Kyle Youmans of DallasCowboys.com. So excited to have you join us again as we continue to preview the prospects, the storylines, and what you should look for in this year's East-West Shrine Bowl. And Bryan, we are now midway through the week. We are getting closer and closer to Tuesday's game from Ford Center at the Star in Frisco. There's a lot of excitement building, and by this point, now the scouts have put eyes on prospects. They've gotten some film from these week's practices, and we're starting to learn exactly who is standing out amongst the group. What type of conversations are happening in those scouting rooms right now?
Yeah, Kyle, this is, as you mentioned, midway point through the week, with the game looming on Tuesday. You've seen the practices. You've been able to kind of get up close and interview these kids at night. I was walking past some of the ballrooms, and they've got them broken down into pods. Say the Cowboys are with the Chargers and with the Browns, so they've got these groups, these interview, and it's really. It's important that not only do you get that film you're talking about, and the fact that these players are getting coached by NFL coaches, I think says a lot too. You can kind of, as a scout, you can walk up and pick the brain of one of your coaches and say, hey, listen, man, how's this guy been in the meetings? How's this? Oh, my, this guy's really alert. And this guy, he's picking up things. This is a great opportunity. The practicing, the interviews, the film stage, like we were talking about on our previous show, with the guys that are performing well, guys that are playing in the slot. Maybe guys are playing out of position. Maybe we got some tackles that are playing guards. Maybe we have a tackle that's playing center. Maybe we got some tight ends that are doing some things. You're seeing him play as an H or something that you didn't see. And these coaches are bringing that out. And these kids, I call them kids because I'm an older guy, older scout. But these players are being very receptive to ideas. We had Cordelone on, from Cincinnati, the defensive tackle, and how open he was. And you asked him the question, hey, where do you see yourself? You that one technique defensive tackle that's like a true nose?
Yeah.
Or you the three technique that makes all the money getting up the field like Aaron Donald? So that's the fact that they're so receptive to ideas, I think, is really great. And I think the scouts at this point in time have got some good things that they can bank going into when we get to after the combine and we sit down and we start to build the boards and have these draft meetings doing that.
No, and I love talking to those outside of the NFL draft world, because if you're just a sports fan, maybe a casual sports fan, and you're tuning in, you may be listening and hearing, what is the East-West Shrine Bowl? What is the significance of this in terms of the NFL draft? I always like to say the NFL draft process is the world's longest job interview.
Yes.
The resume is the film, what you did in college, the stats you put up at your respective schools, and where did you have success, and what games did you shine in. That's the resume. Sometimes a resume is good enough to get you hired in whatever job you're going after, whether it's the real world or it's football. But the job interview is something else that can get you hired, and it can help you elevate in your career. That's what this is in the draft process, and it's the East-West Shrine Bowl. It's the Senior Bowl that's coming up next week. It's the NFL Combine that comes up in the end of February, early March. And then, of course, you get those meetings and those draft scenarios for each prospect going to specific teams. But this is the first step in really trying to find out who you are as a person, as a prospect, as a player, and how you click off the field as well. And you talked about these meeting rooms, which we're sitting right in front of now. All these pods are so crucial because there's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on.
A lot of meetings, a lot of conversations. It's easy to get distracted. How focused are you in your specific role? And that's where these teams get a really good idea of how the prospect handles their business both on and off the field.
It's really neat because you have the opportunity to – this is really now some college programs are very open about how when you come in on what we call a school call. For example, if you go to Texas A&M and you're on the school call and Coach Elko's there and he's like, hey, scouts, welcome. Here's the access. We're going to let you watch tape. We're going to let you, go to practice. We're going to give you an opportunity to meet these kids, and get to know them a little bit. You might not get to know them great, but maybe you have that little bit of interaction with them. And the funny thing is always that these players this time of year, scouts walk up and go, hey, I met you, and then they're kind of like, yeah, oh, yeah, and then it kind of clicks. But this gives them an opportunity with these meetings here. It's really, really important because nowadays you're in a situation with how will guys fit with our current roster? How will guys fit with our teams? These, people provide the psychological tests, just the interpersonal reactions that they have. A scout, I've seen scouts before come into a meeting and talk about a player that they met at the East-West game.
Oh yeah.
That all of a sudden I had a one-on-one. The scout will say I had a one-on-one even before we start to watch the tape. Mm-hmm. So here you have the general manager. You might even have the owner in your meetings and stuff, and everybody's listening. And a scout will say I had a chance to meet with this guy at the East-West game. Man, I'll tell you what, you talk about a guy that cares about football, that loves the game. Guy was a captain, asked him a bunch of questions, came off really, really well. Or you get to, and I'll give you the example, Randy Moss.
Oh, yeah?
Randy Moss, when you listen to the scouts talk about Randy Moss, there was a little bit of that disconnect. And some people really didn't vibe with Randy Moss and some of the interactions they had. Nothing against Randy Moss. I mean, he had his reasons why. But these interactions that you have in these all-star settings could set yourself up. And sometimes as a scout, you just got to say, listen, he was having a bad day.
Yeah.
Or he just did not want to talk to me today. Or, hey, what a pleasant kid to talk to. He would fit perfectly with what we're trying to do here.
How tough is it from a scouting standpoint to see through maybe the job interview process, right?
Right.
Every time they're coming into it.
You feel like they're programmed.
Exactly. How tough is it to see who these prospects really are whenever you actually have those conversations?
We had discussions where we tried to make guys feel uncomfortable.
Oh.
So if we felt like a guy was programmed, you might have a coach or somebody, a front office guy, ask a question, and you just see the reaction of the player.
Huh.
So, because sometimes they're trained, these agents do a tremendous job of prepping. There's prep schools. There are former scouts like myself that will train kids how to work at the East-West Shrine game, work at the Senior Bowl, work at the Combine. They will tell you, hey, these are the questions you're going to be ready for this one. Your background, you have a history of maybe some problems here. This is how you need to answer these questions. So we would always try and trip kids up, and we don't mean to do it in a negative way or embarrass the kid. You just want to see the reaction of how they problem solve.
And how they find a way either around it or through it.
They're really good football players because they're here. But maybe you try and trip them up to see if they can really problem solve for you.
I love that. We're going to talk about some of those talented players over the course of the next hour on our East-West Shrine Bowl countdown. Today we're going to preview the East offense going up against the West defense. We're going to hear from some really talented offensive linemen. I know you love talking about the trenches.
I do.
These big guys up front. We talked to some really talented defensive players in our first show. We'll now transition to the offensive side with a Texas A&M offensive lineman, Armajay Reed-Adams, Febechi Nwaiwu from Oklahoma, former walk-on. You talk about
how about that?
Finding his way to the NFL. He has done that coming from Oklahoma. We'll have those interviews coming up. But when we come back, Cade Klubnik is a part of this East offense, former Clemson quarterback and a superstar at the quarterback position. We'll talk about him and what he brings to the table for the 2026 NFL Draft. This is the East-West Shrine Bowl Countdown on Coca-Cola Bowl Season Radio.
At Shriners Children's, we're home to the world's leading pediatric orthopedic care. Because so many life-changing advancements start here. We provide access to the best doctors and never allow your ability to pay for services to compromise the care your child needs. We're the first place to turn for the most common or complex orthopedic conditions. Home to possibility and empowering kids to achieve the extraordinary. The most amazing care anywhere begins at shrinerschildrens.org.
Tim, I'm receiving an important update.
Ooh, are you getting night vision?
No. I just found out you could get $200 with Navy Federal Credit Union when you refinance your auto loans from another lender.
So, no night vision?
No night vision.
Learn more at NavyFederal.org/auto loans. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. Navy Federal is insured by NCUA. Credit and collateral subject to approval. Refinance loan must be at least $5,000 to be eligible for the $200. Terms and conditions apply.
For 75 years, the National Football Foundation and College Hall of Fame, through programs and initiatives like the College Football Hall of Fame, Campbell Trophy, and National Scholar Athlete Awards, has strengthened communities, promoted education, preserved opportunities, and protected the game. To learn more and become a member, visit footballfoundation.org. That's footballfoundation.org.
This season, the action isn't just on the field, it's in every game day spread. Hell of a Good dips bring bold flavor to every tailgate, made for dunking, scooping, and celebrating every big play. Find Hell of a Good in stores near you and follow on Instagram at Hell of a Good Dips. Start dipping with Hell of a Good.
Now, back to the East-West Shrine Bowl Countdown.
Welcome back to Frisco, Texas, and the East-West Shrine Bowl Countdown on Coca-Cola Bowl Season Radio. Alongside Bryan Broaddus, I'm Kyle Youmans, taking a deep dive into the East roster of this East-West Shrine Bowl. We're going to start on the offensive side, and we got to start with probably the most notable name we've seen as a part of this group throughout the season, Caden Klubnik, who, after a playoff run at Clemson in 2024, was on top of the world, challenged Texas down at DKR Memorial Stadium in the first round of that playoff, had a phenomenal game, went back into a Clemson program with high expectations, a top 10 ranking to begin the year, and then never really lived up to it, though he did put up some good film. Cade Klubnik is one of those really intriguing draft prospects when you look at his whole body of work, the talent level, the film. Where do you sit on him as you enter the week and what you've seen here at the East-West Shrine Bowl?
I'll tell you what, Kyle. It's a fascinating study.
Yeah.
Because we struggle so badly with these quarterbacks.
Across the board.
Across the board.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's a lot of times I remember, being in draft rooms. Various NFL teams ran a draft for Philadelphia in 1998. Thank God we had Sean Payton there. Sean Payton, by the way, was the lowest coach on our staff, on that Philadelphia staff. He was basically the coach that was getting coffee for everybody. And that was the draft with Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf. Mm-hmm. And I gave Sean, some names. He was working on the offense. I gave him some quarterbacks. And Sean, has this ability to evaluate quarterbacks at a super level. You see it now with what he's playing with. But I remember handing him this list, and he successfully said, listen, hey, I would take Peyton Manning because of this. Ryan Leaf, I'm not so high. And I'm like, okay. But he goes, Brian, let me give you a guy. He goes, if we get down in the 4th, 5th round, there's this guy at Boston College I really like. I'm like, who do you got, Coach? He goes, Matt Hasselbeck.
Wow.
Matt Hasselbeck. I really like him. I don't know if we could get to him, but some of these guys can evaluate quarterbacks. You're talking to a guy that every once in a while, for every Patrick Mahomes that I have, there's a Paxton Lynch. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
So, I mean, it's a very, very difficult position for teams to get right. And the thing with Cade Klubnik, so much was put on his plate. You mentioned the run that they had in the playoffs. And it was like, man, well, maybe he should come out. Maybe he should be a part of this draft. Mm-hmm. But then Dabo Swinney and Clemson got him to come back. And what did that do for Clemson? It put them in that position, much like with LSU.
Yeah.
LSU.
Garrett Nussmeier.
With Nussmeier coming back. These teams that had their quarterbacks coming back, everybody thought of them as top 10 teams immediately. It's just, oh, no, hey, Clemson, LSU, these are national championship teams. Expectations couldn't have been higher for these teams, but where they ended up, Pinstripe Bowl, nothing against the Pinstripe Bowl. Would love to go see a game at Yankee Stadium like that. Would love to see that. But Penn State, a team very disappointing. Clemson, very disappointing. LSU, nothing against the Texas Bowl down there in Houston. Congratulations to Houston for beating LSU. But we saw teams with these high expectations. And why were they so high? Because of their quarterback play. Mm-hmm. And with Klubnik, though, it started off really poorly. And they opened a game, it was funny, against LSU. And then they were on the rope. They lost a couple of games. They were on the ropes. In the third game, managed to come back and win. But this is the things that you go through, whether it's the coach, the quarterback, the players around you. This is a guy that everybody thought was going to be a Heisman Trophy candidate.
Yeah.
It's like, no, this he's an athlete. He throws the ball well. He moves around in the pocket. He's tough. All the things you like in a quarterback was this guy. And everybody in the scouting community was fascinated, like, well, where would this guy go? Is he going to be a top 5 pick? Is he going to be a guy that we have to talk about as like, boy, I tell you what, I will take him, and then, we'll let Downs and everybody else, all the other players just, this is our quarterback.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for him, he comes here now with, as you mentioned, some good tape, but not the tape or not the season that we thought he was going to be. So this is an opportunity for him to come out and to play with some other players, but also get the pro coaching again, interview, and kind of resuscitate his career and get it back on track to where you have a better understanding of who he is. Maybe he's not the Heisman Trophy player, but he's somewhere a notch below that, and then you get a little bit better understanding about him. And maybe what happened there? You can ask him those questions. What happened? And you'll probably get a pretty honest answer from this kid.
What's really interesting is you mentioned Sean Payton.
Yeah.
You mentioned his ability to scout quarterbacks. And, of course, today being
I was with Scott McCloughan.
Sunday.
Scott McCloughan was a former another guy that could really scout quarterbacks.
Another guy.
Yeah.
But today being Championship Sunday, he's not playing with Bo Nix as his quarterback. He's playing with Jarrett Stidham.
Right.
And you could say the same kind of path was what Jarrett Stidham went through as to what Cade Klubnik is going through. Remember Stidham,
Baylor, right?
Coming out of Stephenville, Texas.
Yeah.
Klubnik out of Westlake, Texas.
Right.
Both highly vaulted high school product who go to a school that's a little bit out of the way from what you would traditionally do as a Texas high school player.
Right.
Stidham goes to Baylor, Klubnik goes to Clemson. Then you go there and they have phenomenal starts to their career. Stidham, because of a change at the head coaching spot, he goes to Auburn, settles in with Auburn, has a great season and a couple of years with the Auburn Tigers. Whereas Klubnik doesn't have a coaching change. He stays with Dabo Swinney, but he gets better and better as his career goes on. They both have great junior seasons or penultimate seasons in college. And then their final year, they don't necessarily have the same success. But there's still a lot of believers in their camp. A lot of people that think, oh, he is an NFL quarterback. He is something that can provide for an NFL franchise. Well, Jarrett Stidham goes in the midday. I can't remember exactly where he was drafted, but he was a midday pick. He ends up sticking around in the NFL, bounces around as a borderline backup/starter, and now he's going to have a chance to start in the NFC or the AFC title game for the Denver Broncos. Same thing could be said for Cade Klubnik. Maybe he's not an immediate starter,
right?
But maybe he's a multi-year quarterback in this league and somebody that you can build around and have as a part of your franchise. The Shrine Bowl is an opportunity to showcase that.
Absolutely. That's the great thing about it is, you could go back and watch him play this season at Clemson and then watch him play in the bowl game in cold, blustery conditions in New York City, in the Bronx, and then you could watch him now come here and play. And he's never been a player that's shied away from the challenges of things.
Yes.
He's always been a guy that seems like to me when you listen to coaches talk about him, everything has been upbeat, positive. But this East-West game will give him a little bit of an opportunity this will be the last time because he'll go to the combine and he'll throw the ball and he'll have a workout at Clemson, and we'll start to put together the puzzle for him. And I'm excited to see how things end up for him because I'm in a way I'm pulling for him to be that guy because I could see how high the expectations were at Clemson.
Yeah.
And for them, and listen, for Clemson to win 7 games, that's not a successful program. That's not a successful year. This is a team that was thought to maybe be
in the playoffs,
and maybe even a national championship program. Hopefully, this final, I shouldn't say final, but this scouting process, you got the tape of him. You're going to have some all-star game, and you're going to have the combine. Those are things that are going to tell the story about him and where he gets picked. And you're right. Sean Payton yelled at me he asked me about Bo Nix. And I said, Coach, this is what I think of Bo Nix. And he goes, well, you're wrong. And I'm like, okay, I'm wrong. And then he drafted him. And
ended up playing really well.
So once again, Sean Payton, he's telling me that when these quarterbacks are good or not good.
Hey, at least he stuck with his guns, right? That's what the draft process
I'm
is
telling you
all
what,
about.
you got to do that with these quarterbacks. You have to stick with what you believe because they will get you that. You'll get the lake house because you get to keep your job, or you're going to be fired and never have a chance to get the lake house at the end of the day.
Not the lake house.
No, don't take my lake house away.
Just to clean up the Jarrett Stidham comparison, he was drafted in the 4th round, 133 overall.
Yeah.
I could see
4
something
starts,
similar.
yeah, crazy.
I could see something similar for Cade Klubnik. I think right around that same day,
same path,
maybe right around the same path all the way through for Klubnik. Let's talk about the rest of that East offense. They've got Kyron Drones, Virginia Tech quarterback, Baron Morton, who of course was the starter at Texas Tech in their trip to the Orange Bowl in the college football playoff. Jalen Daniels out of Kansas, some mobility to his game, a little dual threat as well. One of my favorite running backs in the entire NFL draft is here, and it's because of his versatility on offense. His name is Eli Heidenreich out of Navy. Love his ability as a receiver, as a running back in Navy. They call it the sling tee out at Navy. It's not the wing tee,
right?
The sling tee because they throw it around
They'll throw it a little bit now.
And they had Blake Horvath at a quarterback position there for Navy. Heidenreich was his number 1 target, and he was a red zone threat and a deep play threat regardless, whether he was playing in the backfield or playing out wide. And throughout practice, you've seen him in both spots. Oh, I'm excited. If I'm going to make a bold prediction this week on the Shrine Bowl countdowns.
This will be your MVP, maybe?
Maybe not MVP, but he's going to score.
Okay.
I think he scores at least.
Right.
And if you score in the Shrine Bowl, you got a chance to win the MVP. So maybe he's in that conversation. He just has a knack for finding the end zone, and he's one of those guys that I'm excited to watch. As a part of maybe some of these wideouts, a lot of SEC representation.
Yeah, Xavier Thomas there and Chris Hilton as well.
Yeah, both out of LSU.
Yeah.
Then they have a trio of Georgia receivers on this East offense. Had the chance to see them earlier this year at Mississippi State. You had a big-time catch from Noah Thomas. Noah Thomas had a 64-yard touchdown grab in that game where he was weaving in and out of traffic. Maybe not the best route runner as a part of the group, but, man, he's got some ball skills as well. One of the biggest catches in practice this week belonged to Dylan Bell, wide receiver from Georgia. Some big-bodied guys, but then you got some slot guys. How about Nick DeGennaro, the James Madison wideout, 5'11"? He showed out against Oregon in the college football playoff. Lots of playmakers on this East roster.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. And we talked about the quarterback play. And so what makes you shine as a quarterback? Guys that can go catch the football. It always helps.
The blockers up front, too.
Yeah, exactly. Give me a little time and let me get the ball to these playmakers. And they've done the east side of the roster on offense has got some impressive weapons for sure.
No doubt about it. We're going to talk to some of the offensive linemen in this East-West Shrine Bowl coming up here in just a couple of moments. We'll talk to the Texas A&M interior offensive lineman, Armaje Reed Adams, who has a future in broadcasting, might I add. He had a podcast of his own back when he was down in College Station with the Texas A&M Aggies. We're going to talk to him when we come back. More of the East-West Shrine Bowl countdown on Coca-Cola Bowl Season Radio after this.
First, at Shriners Children's, the world's most advanced scoliosis procedures are born here. In fact, we deliver access to the world's best doctors for nearly every pediatric orthopedic condition. We're delivering care without compromise is our promise. And kids can just be kids. Because being first always starts with empowering the extraordinary. The most amazing care anywhere begins at shrinerschildrens.org.
Tim, I'm receiving an important update.
Ooh, are you getting night vision?
No, I just found out you could get $200 with Navy Federal Credit Union when you refinance your auto loans from another lender.
So, no night vision?
No night vision.
Learn more at NavyFederal.org/auto loans. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. Navy Federal is insured by NCUA. Credit and collateral subject to approval. Refinance loan must be at least $5,000 to be eligible for the $200. Terms and conditions apply.
A 43-yard field goal with a ticket to the championship on the line. Here's the snap. The kick is...
At this moment, who you voted for doesn't matter. What kind of car you drive, how much money you make, what kind of music you listen to, or how many followers you have doesn't matter. At this moment, the only thing that does is football. Visit footballmatters.com.
This season, the action isn't just on the field. It's in every game day spread. Hell of a Good dips bring bold flavor to every watch party. Made for dunking, scooping, and celebrating every big play. Find Hell of a Good in stores near you and follow on Instagram at Hell of a Good Dips. Start dipping with Hell of a Good.
Now, back to the East-West Shrine Bowl Countdown.
Back here in Frisco on the East-West Shrine Bowl Countdown on Coca-Cola Bowl Season Radio. I'm your host, Kyle Youmans, with Armaje Reed Adams, Texas A&M offensive lineman and All-American this year. An incredible story from the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Armaje, you were born in Dallas. You went to Mesquite Horn High School, finished at DeSoto. You've had quite the journey. Take us through that journey and where football became a passion for you.
Football became my passion as soon as I was able to walk. Obviously you tell by my size, I always been a bigger guy, so I played with my older cousins probably a year or two before I was supposed to play football. It's always been a love of mine. I grew up with a football in my hands, always doing something, playing any kind of sport I could, and just being in the city of Dallas, especially Texas, football is everything for us.
Now, when did you switch to offensive line? Because you said you grew up with a ball in your hands.
Yeah.
So at some point there was a decision to play up front and play in the trenches.
Yeah, it was a slow but fast process from going to quarterback to running back to tight end to defensive player, and then ultimately coming to play left tackle my senior year.
So how much do you feel like that journey of bouncing around from position to position helps you now, because you've gotten to see all the different sides of the sport?
The biggest help for me is I played defensive line the longest, so just knowing the mentality of a defensive lineman and what their goal is, and also carrying that same mentality into offensive line. And
you certainly do. You were able to do that at DeSoto, which of course is a powerhouse high school here in Dallas-Fort Worth. What was that?
The U.
The U, yeah, you're right, DeSoto U, and that's exactly what it is. You go to Kansas first. You play 3 seasons at Kansas. Take us through your time with the Jayhawks and how much you grew as an individual and as a player at the college level.
I grew a lot at Kansas. I thank Les Miles and Emmett Jones for getting me up there. I had a great year with them, and then Coach Lipo came in and brought an amazing staff and brought in a culture that helped us win and build something there. So it was amazing, coming in, losing every game. And then when I left Kansas, we won 10 games, won a bowl game, and did something that hadn't been done there for 20 years.
Hey, that's the thing. You got to leave a place better than you found it, and that's exactly what you did. Armaj Reed Adams from Texas A&M joining us. And tell us about why you decided to transfer to Texas A&M and the journey that got you down to College Station.
Being close to home, coming back to Texas, and ultimately playing SEC football. It's the greatest conference in the world with the best football players, and I wanted to solidify myself as one of those. So A&M was a no-brainer. My mom and aunties was all A&M fans, and Tennessee was just a little too far away.
Just a little bit. Knoxville, College Station, definitely a little bit of a difference to DeSoto. Now, you played inside at the guard spot your entire time at Texas A&M. Is there any versatility to your game once you get to the next level, or are you pretty much set at playing guard, maybe a little center? Have you played center before?
So I have a lot of versatility. I started my offensive line career playing left tackle, was All-State at DeSoto.
Yeah.
And not until I got to college where I started playing guard. And even towards the end of my time in Kansas, I ended my career at Kansas as a right tackle. So it came to A&M as a swing player, but started at guard, played a game or two at right tackle for some reps, but mostly my mainstay been guard.
And where do you feel like you'll fit at the NFL level?
Yeah, just anywhere a team needs a great offensive lineman, I can play tackle, guard. And I even snapped during spring football and fall camp.
You think you'll be able to show off a little bit of that versatility throughout the Shrine Bowl this week?
Yeah, I think I could. Yes, sir.
Yeah, go up and down the line, the positionless football that we see so many times in modern day football. What are you excited about this week? Putting yourself out there, showing the NFL teams that are in attendance just what you can do on a field.
The same goal I had transferring to Texas A&M, solidify myself as one of the best in the country. Get my name out there and prove to everybody that I'm one of the best.
What's your biggest strength as an individual?
As an individual, my leadership.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm been a captain at A&M. I was on the leadership council at both Texas A&M and Kansas, and my teammates and everybody in the building loved and respected me for it.
Now, I hear you had a little bit of media background during your time at Texas A&M. I want you to give me an open to your profile. I want you to give me a profile like you would if you were opening your podcast, because I hear you had your own podcast. Can you give me what you would do to start the show? From the Shrine Bowl, we'll give you a little setting situation.
From the Shrine Bowl, I have my guest here, Armaj Reed Adams, former Texas A&M Aggie. Also with all SEC and All-American honors this year. Hell of a football player, had an amazing journey, came from Kansas to Texas A&M and was able to build something in both places. A great football player and a great leader.
No doubt about it, and that was incredible. You're going to be a great broadcaster one day, too. Or a coach, I hear. You could go one way or the other. I definitely think you have a future in media, but let's play 15, 20 years in the league first and get that through initially.
Super Bowls.
I love it. I love it.
To the Hall of Fame.
Perfect. We'll fit you for the gold jacket now. Armaj Reed Adams from Texas A&M joining us. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. Thanks for taking some time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
More from the East-West Shrine Bowl and the countdown here on Coca-Cola Bowl Season Radio. So that was our conversation with Armaj Reed Adams, back with Bryan Broaddus here on the East-West Shrine Bowl countdown, and our jobs are in jeopardy.
We are so worked right now. We are so worked. Really interesting young man, the journey that he traveled to get here. And we're going to start to hear that a lot about these kids. There's going to be multiple schools that maybe somebody started at a Kansas and then they end up at Texas A&M, but the journey to get to where they are, a lot of these kids, and it'll be exciting to hear his story when it's all said and done.
Yeah, it really is cool. And one of the things that stood out to me when you look at his tape, he is strong.
Yeah.
Got some incredible hands, and he moves really well as a 330-pounder on that line of scrimmage. And I'm excited to see what the versatility is, because he played guard in college at Texas A&M, but you heard it there. He can move up and down the offensive line, and I'm assuming the East-West Shrine Bowl will give him an opportunity to do that.
When you watch tape and you want to watch, say, Miami, and you want to watch their like Bain and Messidor and those guys, and all, when you want to watch them, throw that A&M tape on, because that 5 across for A&M, those were like Winnebagos parked next to each other, on a Saturday getting ready for a tailgate. I mean, that was, you talk about some offensive line with that crew. They were really, really a good offensive line there at Texas A&M.
And they could move.
They could move, absolutely.
They were not just parked Winnebagos. Those were rolling downhill
but when you know what I'm talking about, you have 5 Winnebagos just parked right next to you. There's some width there.
Looked like one of those demolition derbies where they're just running around in the dirt.
This East-West Shrine game has got some guys, some offensive linemen in it. I mean, I know that Emil Wagner from Notre Dame was a guy that I was talking with Dane Brugler about this, who does stuff with The Athletic, and Dane was a colleague of yours of mine from the draft show on DallasCowboys.com and does a tremendous job. And he was saying, hey, you got to watch this Wagner kid from Notre Dame play. But another one, too, was this DJ Campbell from Texas. At 6'3", 321 pounds is what I was working off, and you watch this, again, just these massive frame with long legs, but kind of what we call high cut. He's got long legs, short upper body, but man, he can play with some power. I mean, it doesn't take him too long to get going. He can handle the quicker defensive tackles and the power run schemes. That's where he's going to, if you're like this power gap scheme type of offense, DJ Campbell is a perfect guy for you.
And it's interesting. I have another one of those names.
Yeah.
Shorter upper body, long legs, got some length
high
to
cut.
him. High cut guys on the opposite side of the Red River rivalry. When we come back here on the East-West Shrine Bowl countdown on Coca-Cola Bowl Season Radio, we're going to hear from Oklahoma interior offensive lineman Febechi Nwaiwu. Similar build, similar type of skill set, and he's got an incredible story of how he got here to the East-West Shrine Bowl. More to come here from Coca-Cola Bowl Season Radio right after this.
At Shriners Children's, we're leaders in pediatric sports medicine. With expertise in sprains, tears, fractures, and other sports-related injuries, we're here to deliver the best care in the business and never allow your ability to pay for services to compromise the care your child needs. Because every great comeback starts with a game plan for empowering the extraordinary. The most amazing care anywhere begins at shrinerschildrens.org.
Tim, I'm receiving an important update.
Ooh, are you getting night vision?
No. I just found out you could get $200 with Navy Federal Credit Union when you refinance your auto loans from another lender.
So, no night vision?
No night vision.
Learn more at NavyFederal.org/autoloans. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. Navy Federal is insured by NCUA. Credit and collateral subject to approval. Refinance loan must be at least $5,000 to be eligible for the $200. Terms and conditions apply.
For 75 years, the National Football Foundation and College Hall of Fame, through programs and initiatives like the College Football Hall of Fame, Campbell Trophy, and National Scholar Athlete Awards, has strengthened communities, promoted education, preserved opportunities, and protected the game. To learn more and become a member, visit footballfoundation.org. That's footballfoundation.org.
Here's the deal. We gotta set ourselves up. See, retirement is the long game. We gotta make moves and make them early. Set up goals. Don't worry about a setback. Just save up and stack up to reach them. Let's put ourselves in the right position. Pre-game to greater things.
Start building your retirement plan at thisispretirement.org. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Now, back to the East-West Shrine Bowl Countdown.
Back here with the East-West Shrine Bowl countdown from Coca-Cola Bowl Season Radio. I'm your host, Kyle Youmans, now joined by interior offensive lineman. I'm just going to say offensive lineman, Febechi Nwaiwu from Oklahoma. And I say offensive lineman because you have some versatility to your game. You can play inside, you can play outside. Where do you feel like you're most confident going into the next level at the NFL?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I would say I'm more confident inside. Any of the middle three, I think I can play extremely well at a high level.
Yeah, you're one of those can play all five. Did you ever play all five during your college tenure?
Yeah, I played four, not the left tackle spot, unfortunately.
Okay.
I wish I could get it in, but yeah, I played right tackle, right guard, center, and left guard.
Okay, so you even played a little bit of center. That was the one that was going to trip me up a little bit if you had played center, but maybe not one of the tackle spots. So
yes,
good to know. Now, you spent 2 years at Oklahoma. You actually began your career with North Texas. And, of course, they had some recent success under your head coach, Eric Morris, who recruited you to Denton. Talk about your journey getting into college and where you kind of started to see your career take shape.
Yeah, so I actually walked on to UNT. It's a crazy experience. So I walked on, earned my scholarship within a year, became a freshman All-American that next year, was a team captain. And, I decided to go to Oklahoma because I wanted to play, Power 5 football. I wanted to play, in the SEC where, everybody talks about it, where everybody says it means more, and I wanted to go experience what that feels like. So, I got the opportunity, and I had to take it.
You certainly took advantage of that. You spent your time in North Texas, grinded your way to a starting spot, and the versatility helped out there with a revolving door at some of those spots on the offensive line. Now, when you made the jump to Oklahoma, what was the biggest shock for you, taking a jump from the American Conference into the SEC, where you talked about it, the level of competition just goes up?
Everybody's extremely good. We played, every SEC team that we played has a top defense in the nation. So it's different in the terms of, every week is a challenge, but I love that challenge. I think that's the reason why I love Oklahoma so much, because you're challenged to every day. And not just the defenses you played, but, your teammates challenge you, Your teammates hold you to a high level. They work extremely hard, and it makes you work even harder.
Here with Oklahoma offensive lineman Febechi Nwaiwu. And when you look at Oklahoma, you play so many different styles of defense and different edge rushers and pass rushers and defensive linemen. Who were some of the more challenging matchups that you faced throughout 2025 and really your career at OU?
Honestly, if you want me to be serious, I would say our defense in practice.
Really?
Yes, sir. They bring a lot of different looks. They can do a lot of things. They're very versatile. So playing them was extremely hard. We had one of the top defenses in the nation. And being able to recognize, all the different looks and all the different blitzes that they bring, I think that made me a better player.
Anybody at the Shrine Bowl that you're excited to go up against and challenge throughout your time here?
I wouldn't say I'm excited to go up against anybody, but I would say I'm excited to play with these guys, these other offensive linemen, because, I watch film and I've seen them play. I like a lot of these players, and I'm just excited for the opportunity to play next to them.
Yeah, what's the biggest strength for you going into the NFL that you're telling these NFL teams that you're going to bring to their offensive line?
I think I'm versatile, extremely versatile. I think I'm a physical player, and I think I have a high football IQ. I've started 45 games. Again, I played a lot of positions. And again, I'm energetic. I have a lot of energy out there. I'm a voice in the field. I'm a leader, and that's what I'm bringing to them.
From former walk-on to the SEC, now to the NFL, Febechi Nwaiwu, offensive lineman from Oklahoma, joining us. Febechi, congratulations on all the success and the experience you've gained to this point. Can't wait to see you shine in the Shrine Bowl and at the NFL level.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
How cool is that when you talk about making a trip to North Texas, to walking on for the North Texas Mean Green?
Crazy.
Provides for the opportunity to go to the SEC, play in Oklahoma, start for Oklahoma, and put together the career that Nwaiwu has put together.
It tells me one thing, that us scouts are idiots. This kid
down to the lower levels.
This kid is recruiter. This kid walked on. He walked on. How many times do we chase 5-star, 4-star recruits? And this kid's right under our nose.
Yeah.
He might have gone to a football camp. He might have, scouts, evaluators. Heck, that's why we're doing radio.
That's
why
right.
I'm not good enough to scout. I can't go find a 324-pound offensive lineman that's blocking people in the SEC. No, but hey, what a great story. It really does though show you. It shows you how. You just don't know. You just don't know where these players are going to come from or where they're going to show up from. And, I have the utmost respect for what you guys do as being an alum from North Texas.
Oh, yeah?
Your program gets picked over, and next thing you know, these kids are at Oklahoma. They're at Oklahoma State. You lose your coach. But that's what these kids do. They adapt. They play at a very, very high level, and then they get rewarded with the opportunity to come and play at an all-star game like this. And he mentioned, the question was really cool that, hey, who would you like to go against? He's thinking like, I'm just really happy to be on this team, and the fact that he's not wrong. Oklahoma's defense, you watch Oklahoma's defense play.
Oh, yeah. They're incredible.
That R. Mason Thomas and those guys, they get after you. So he ain't wrong about going up against a quality program.
A couple of guys that are here at the Shrine Bowl. You got Marvin Jones Jr., edge rusher, 6'4", 257.
Yeah.
I mean, just a big, long body, somebody that played on that Oklahoma defense. And then, of course, they've got somebody in the secondary, Robert Spears Jennings, the safety at 6'1" as well. Yeah. He wasn't going up against Febechi Nwaiwu all the time, but it happens so often. And you just talked about how a lot of these group of 5 programs do see the transfer portal take away most of their roster. We're sitting up here at the Hyatt Regency, and players are walking
There's
around.
some good-looking kids walking by here, just on the hoof, as we like to say.
One of them was Anthony Smith, a wide receiver from East Carolina, just walked by.
Mighty Pirates.
He wasn't even on the initial roster for the Shrine Bowl.
Right.
Showed up this week. He's been really impressive. And throughout his tape at East Carolina, and Caton Hauser was his quarterback, they had all sorts of success, and he was a deep play threat, somebody that put up big numbers. He just walked by. He looks like one of the guys, and he's going to have a chance to make a big impact in this game coming up on Tuesday. All right. When we come back here on East-West Shrine Bowl Countdown presented by Coca-Cola Bowl Season Radio, we're going to take a look at the West defense. We just previewed the East offense earlier in the show. We'll take a look at the counterparts on what they'll go up against in the matchup on Tuesday. More to come from Frisco, Texas on Coca-Cola Bowl Season Radio after this.
At Shriners Children's, we're leaders in pediatric sports medicine. With expertise in sprains, tears, fractures, and other sports-related injuries. We're here to deliver the best care in the business and never allow your ability to pay for services to compromise the care your child needs. Because every great comeback starts with a game plan for empowering the extraordinary. The most amazing care anywhere begins at shrinerschildrens.org.
Tim, I'm receiving an important update.
Ooh, are you getting night vision?
No. I just found out you could get $200 with Navy Federal Credit Union when you refinance your auto loans from another lender.
So, no night vision?
No night vision.
Learn more at NavyFederal.org/auto loans. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. Navy Federal is insured by NCUA. Credit and collateral subject to approval. Refinance loan must be at least $5,000 to be eligible for the $200. Terms and conditions apply.
For 75 years, the National Football Foundation and College Hall of Fame, through programs and initiatives like the College Football Hall of Fame, Campbell Trophy, and National Scholar Athlete Awards, has strengthened communities, promoted education, preserved opportunities, and protected the game. To learn more and become a member, visit footballfoundation.org. That's footballfoundation.org.
Here's the deal. We gotta set ourselves up. See, retirement is the long game. We gotta make moves and make them early. Set up goals. Don't worry about a setback. Just save up and stack up to reach them. Let's put ourselves in the right position. Pre-game to greater things.
Start building your retirement plan at thisispretirement.org. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Now, back to the East-West Shrine Bowl Countdown.
Continuing on with the East-West Shrine Bowl Countdown on Coca-Cola Bowl Season Radio. From Frisco, Texas, site of Tuesday's 101st edition of the East-West Shrine Bowl. Alongside Bryan Broaddus, I'm Kyle Youmans. And Bryan, you just made the noise there. 101 years of scouting players as a part of the East-West Shrine Bowl. It's an incredible tradition, and I can't wait to see what the game happens coming up this week. I do want to pub it as a broadcast that you can watch on Coca-Cola Bowl Season Radio coming up. Brian Estridge on the call alongside yourself. You got Michelle Montaigne and LaDarren McClain down on the sideline. An incredible group from Ford Center at the Star in Frisco. But let's preview some of the West defense. Took a look at the East offense, Kate Klubnik and some company earlier. We mentioned a couple names here. You talked about the Texas offensive line.
Yeah.
I want to talk about a Texas defensive lineman, Ethan Burke.
Yeah.
6'6", 270. He is a towering edge rusher.
He is.
And we saw him a little bit in practice earlier. He makes an impact, and you can see it initially.
Yeah, you can with Burke. And you watch him on tape, he's always around the ball.
Yes.
He's one of these guys that's like, okay, they're unpiling, and then he's in the middle of it. He's that kind of player. He's super active, relentless. You know, we always talk about those guys that, you know, how do they play the game? There's, you know, scouts like say, oh, his motor runs hot and cold. You know, not with this guy. This guy is a hot motor player. When you start to talk about his ability to get up the field, to be able to play with some length, to be able to kind of long arm blockers, kind of keep him off his body, his ability to move around, to finish, to get outside, keep his outside arm clean, don't let the ball get to the edge. Super impressive with the way that he, you know, there are these guys that all of a sudden it's like it might not be the flashiest or the physically the most impressive, but you're talking about the length and the size, but not the bulk and stuff, but just the way that he plays, the way he's around the ball is super impressive.
Yeah, he could be an impact player because if you get the bendability and you add that to his length and his size, all of that plays a factor.
Yeah, that's what we're all looking for right now in this scouting world. We're looking for the guys that can not only bend but keep the blockers' hands off them. You know, you got to be able to dip and duck, and you got to be able to play at the level of where that quarterback is. These quarterbacks are getting smart about stepping up in the pocket. So you got to, if you rush too deep and you get pushed by, you're no good to your team. You got to be able to dip that thing and get back underneath, and he's got that kind of ability.
You know, it's funny. On yesterday's show, we talked about the interior defensive linemen that are these big-bodied lateral movers. Even though they're 330-plus pounds and playing nose or playing a three technique, they can still move like they are a three technique. And this is a little different. That was on the East roster and on the East defense. On the West defense, they've just got big bodies up front. You talk about a guy like Illinois interior defensive lineman James Thompson Jr., 6'5", 300 pounds. He's more of a stand tall type of defensive tackle as opposed to those lateral movers. When you look at the defensive line as a whole out of this group, there's a lot of Texas A&M, a lot of Kentucky. Miami has David Blay, interior defensive lineman, who was, of course, a part of that national runner-up Miami Hurricanes team. Anybody stand out to you on that defensive front?
Yeah, we had a chance we interviewed with what you did with Corleone.
Yeah, Dante Corleone.
Corleone, and then I mentioned Albert Regis is Texas A&M, and I say his name because when you see a guy that's 6'1", so he's built like a mailbox. I mean, like one of those old school mailboxes. It's just squatty, but he's 317 pounds. And the anchor strength, that's something, you know, if you're going to be short, play with leverage. Either play with leverage or have a wrestling background. You know, that's always been me. If you show up, by the way, if you're born in Belglade, Florida, I'm going to draft you because every player that's ever come from Belglade, Florida is there. But if you're going to be the shorter, compact guy, you got to be able to play with some power. And this guy with Regis, he is very tough to move. The double teams, I mean, in the SEC that he faces on a daily basis is impressive. But he gets outside the tackle box. He knows how to play scheme. He's not going to let blockers get the best of him when it comes to holding his gap. He's not affected by down blocks, double teams. You just watch him play. And he stands people up inside. A&M has got those edge presence, but they've also got those massive guys inside that play that defense. Albert Regis is at 6'1", at 317 pounds is what I've got him at. That's going to be a guy I'm going to keep my eye on Tuesday night.
You know, it's interesting. When we were watching the practices for this West defense, I kept finding myself looking at the second level and looking at the linebackers.
And they never get there? The blockers never get there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the linebackers are able to play free because in my notes when I look at it, I say, Eric Gentry, linebacker from USC, has had a great couple of practices. You talk about Carson Shire, Iowa linebacker, who we talked to on yesterday's show. He's a guy who's been flying around. Wesley Bassett, the linebacker from Miami. All three of those guys are some of my top performers so far. So what does that tell me? That tells me those defensive tackles are holding their blocks and they're allowing those linebackers behind them to run free and consistently play downhill. But I also think that's kind of what this linebacker class is. It's a lot of downhill guys that are not afraid to go up and stuff the run.
Well, if you and I do work with the Dallas Cowboys, you with DallasCowboys.com, and if you're a fan of the Dallas Cowboys, one of the things they're going to be hunting is linebackers.
Absolutely.
And so it's not just and depending on what happens too, with the new coach, are you going to be more of a 4-3-3-4? Now people are starting to think like, okay, wait a minute, what do you need? And not just the Cowboys, but all these teams that in our show earlier, we talked about scheme changes, coaching changes.
Yeah, Green Bay's going through one.
Exactly.
All these head coaches.
All these changes, these staffs. So now you're trying to think about, okay, what kind of linebackers do we need? Do we need, there's the guys like the Hills at Texas, Allen from Georgia. A guy's not playing this game.
Sonny Styles from Ohio State.
Yeah, but you're going to have those downhill thumper type of linebackers, and I think that's what you got here. You got some guys that play with that kind of style.
Yeah, Bassett is that guy for me. I really like his tape out of Miami. I mean, he's just a free-flowing guy. He benefits from playing behind Akeem Messidor and Ruben Bain and David Blay and all these guys on that defensive line.
They've got a great front there at Miami. You can watch that's some of the best tape watching defensive line play you're going to get.
No doubt about it. And Miami was my national championship pick before the season.
Congratulations.
Defense, I got close. But when you talk about the defense, that was where it was built around.
Yeah.
It was, my goodness, that front seven is the best in football. And you look at it just the way they played against Indiana. Indiana ran through everyone on their schedule, including Ohio State, including the players or the teams that they faced in the playoff to get to the national championship game.
Right.
One team they did not run through was Miami, and a big part of that was a linebacker in Bassett at the second level. Talked to him the other day. Really bright young man, knows the scheme, knows how to pick it all up, and certainly has a lot of talent going to the next level. Now, safeties. Let's take a look at the secondary as well. Local product, Ahmad Moses. And speaking of Miami, he was the lone reason, or one of the reasons, I don't want to say lone reason, that SMU upset Miami in Dallas in Week 11 of the college
football quarterback
season.
look kind of ordinary, didn't they?
Had 2 picks in that game, had Carson Beck on his heels, including the game-sealing interception in overtime that allowed a stop in the first overtime possession. Then SMU goes down and scores and wins the game. He's an overall playmaker, but does it give you pause the fact that he comes in measuring under 5'10"? He's 5'9", 199 pounds. Is that something that could maybe be a knock against him moving forward?
Yeah, everybody is looking for, we were talking about some of these safeties that do have that size, that do have. I mean, I know that with our guy from Toledo, at 6'2", 202 pounds. Everybody's looking for that type of guy, and I'm talking about McNeil Warren, the hyphenated name, out of Toledo. Emmanuel,
not here at the Shrine Bowl, but in the draft class.
But we're looking at draft class, and whether him, Ramsey from USC is a little bit of a shorter guy.
Yeah.
Halsey from LSU, a little bit of a bigger guy, 6 foot. But see, that's where all of a sudden, are teams going to more of that guy that can play in coverage? Can play down.
Ahmad Moses was the nation's leader in interceptions.
There you go.
See, for the first 13 weeks of the year.
That's what I'm saying, though. If you have somebody that has a nose for the ball, everybody's looking for the next Darren Woodson from back in the day, or Leroy Butler, or Ed Reed.
Even modern-day Kyle Hamilton.
Exactly. But a little bit longer, a little bit taller guy, but plays all the spots. That's where I think that's the thing with Moses. at 5'10", is he able to kind of do those things? Is he able to play in the slot? Is he able to play? If he's got a nose for the ball that way and the ball gravitates towards him, you can't discount. The kid we saw, and here's another one of a young man's not here, but Pons from Indiana, the corner. He a 5'9" guy, 174 pounds. Throw on that tape and watch him make play after play after play. Listen, you as scouts, we can ding these kids for not being this and not being that, but you put on that tape and they can make plays against big-time programs the way that some of these kids can, you can't discount that. You just can't.
And I think that's where a opportunity like this to show what you can do against elite-level competition.
Yep.
Pair that with the elite-level tape that even got you here in the first place as a part of the East-West Shrine Bowl. Then you're really cooking and trying to find your way onto an NFL draft card whenever April comes around. That's going to do it for us here on day 2 of our East-West Shrine Bowl countdown on Coca-Cola Bowl Season Radio. Bryan Broaddus and myself, Kyle Youmans, will be back again for one more show. Excited to bring you all sorts of preview leading up to Tuesday's game from Ford Center at the Star in Frisco. Always a pleasure, Bryan.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you carrying me along today.
You carried me just as well. So we'll be back again to break it all down for you coming up tomorrow. That does it from Frisco, Texas. Special thanks to Mike Parsons, our executive producer, for Brian Estridge for putting us all together, and then for making sure we get on the air, Kyle Cross, as well. For Bryan Broaddus, I'm Kyle Youmans saying so long. The East-West Shrine Bowl countdown presented by Coca-Cola Bowl Season Radio here in Frisco.
The East-West Shrine Bowl Countdown has been a presentation of Bowl Season Radio and First Team Ventures.